I really like this venue. I am Chris with the Joshi Wrestling Recap for Stardom, April 24th, 2022, available on Stardom World. This was the last show before Stardom's next big pay-per-view event on the 29th, and took place at one of the coolest venues, KBS Studios in Kyoto. One wall is a giant stained glass mural and gives the matches a more important feeling and looks gorgeous. The card was mostly faction versus faction matches, and it looked like there was more of an emphasis on giving the newer roster members some ring time. We opened with a really fun three-way match, Kaguma versus Lady C versus Tekla. Stardom have over the last few years toned down their comedy, Fuki and Death being the exception, but this match demonstrated they still can have funny matches. Kaguma and Tekla are creative wrestlers who try to make each match feel different, and Lady C went along for the ride with them. I'm not going to go over all the funny spots to the match, that would ruin the surprise, but I do want to highlight a bit that Kaguma and Tekla had to give you an idea. Earlier in the match, Tekla did her spider walk bridge to taunt Kaguma, and to further taunt Kaguma, Tekla was doing Kaguma's spot where she dodges lockup attempts. This frustrated Kaguma, so she decided to do her own spider walk bridge, and she is not as good as Tekla, and was spider crawling very slowly. The image of Kaguma doing a very poor imitation of Tekla's signature move was pretty funny. The match wasn't just comedy spots, there was some actual wrestling also. The end of the match came after all three traded pin attempts. Lady C booted Tekla out of the ring, and Kaguma took the opportunity to roll up Lady C with her signature pin, the Kuma roll, and got the pinfall victory. Kaguma is smarter than the average bear. The second match was a singles match between Netsupoy and Sayaida. When I saw this match on the card, I was intrigued. Netsupoy is mostly known for wrestling a high-speed style, while Sayaida is a power wrestler, so I wondered how much this match would be. It turns out a match between these two involves a lot of chops. The match started with a test of strength, but Sayaida was obviously the stronger of the two, even if Netsupoy is a little bit taller than her. Netsupoy, realizing that Sayaida was much stronger than her, started peppering Sayaida with drop kicks, followed that with submissions targeting Sayaida's arm. Netsupoy even bit Sayaida's arm multiple times. The match pivoted in Sayaida's favor after she dodged the dropkick by Netsupoy and started to just chop Netsupoy in the chest. What followed was a lot of chops to Netsupoy's chest, and so many that Netsupoy turned her back to Sayaida, so Sayaida just started chopping her back until the ref pulled Sayaida off of her. Sayaida didn't appreciate that, so she chopped the ref, then regretted it immediately and apologized. Netsupoy got back in the match after she tossed Sayaida from the top rope, and the match was a bit back and forth from then until the end. After trading pin attempts and a chop from Sayaida, Netsupoy put the match away with release suplex followed by one of her finishers, the fairy ring, to get the pinfall victory. Netsupoy walked to the back victorious and with a very red chest. The next match was a mini preview of the upcoming Artist of Stardom Trios Championship match between Odotai and Donald Del Mondo. The Odotai team was Ruaka, Starlight Kid, Saki Kashima, and Momo Watanabe. For Donald Del Mondo we had Julia, Mai Sakurai, Himeka, and Maika. The Odotai shenanigans were kept to a minimum this match, probably saving them for the title match. As for the match, it was good, but nothing really stood out. I did feel like they gave Mai Sakurai more to do in the match. For example, to start the match was Mai Sakurai and Saki Kashima in for their teams. Mai Sakurai tried to do Saki Kashima's strategy against her of a quick roll-up, which Saki was not expecting, and Mai almost got a surprise win. Only a few months ago, I could picture Mai Sakurai getting rolled up, and one of her tag partners would need to run in and break up the pin. The match was pretty back and forth. I did notice that Julia was never tagged in, but still helped her team with multi-woman moves or to run in interference. I did like the end portion of the match, when Himeka and Ruaka were against each other. Both were showing off their strength, but Ruaka isn't as strong as she thinks she is, and Himeka was able to put away Ruaka after 2 layers and a powerbomb for the pinfall victory. The fourth match was Stars vs. God's Eye. Representing Stars was Mei Iwatani, Hazuki, and Momo Kogo, while we had Amisore, Mirai, and Shuri from God's Eye. This match was meant to highlight the newer members of each faction. There was a lot of Momo Kogo, Amisore, and Mirai in this match. Hazuki and Shuri started the match for their teams with some nice mat wrestling before tagging out. From then on, God's Eye did a good job of keeping Momo Kogo isolated, while Mirai and Amisore were overpowering her. Mirai was targeting Momo Kogo's arm with holds and strikes when they were against each other, and Momo was doing a good job of selling the pain. It wasn't only Momo Kogo in for her team. Mei Iwatani and Hazuki had a good section against Amisore, and they even did stereo tope suicidas to the outside onto God's Eye. The back portion of this match saw Mirai, with a bit of help from Imisare, get a submission victory over Momo Kogo, where, after a vicious lariat, she applied the Miramare and Momo tapped. There was a bit of fun after the match where Mei Uotani, just for laughs, sprayed Shuri in the face with cold spray before running away. I don't know what that was about, but I laughed. That brings us to the main event, an 8-women's tag match between Queen's Quest and Cosmic Angels. For Queen's Quest, we had Utami Hayashishida, Saya Kamatani, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki versus Cosmic Angels Tam Nakano, Unagi Sayaka, Mina Shirakawa, and Waka Sugiyama. Much like the previous match, this was more of a showcase of the newer members of the roster, Miyu Amasaki and Waka Sugiyama, but it was still a good match. In pre-match promo, we were made aware that Kyoto, where the show was taking place, is Miyu Amasaki's hometown, and she had seen many wrestling matches in KBS Hall. And Cosmic Angels did their dance in the ring, and Waka wasn't that bad. The match started with a bit of comedy between Utami Hayashishida and Tam Nakano. After trading holds, locks, and dodging each other's strikes, Tam Nakano got Utami down and used a cute pin to cover her. After kicking out of the pin, Utami Hayashishida got Tam down with a shoulder tackle and imitated Tam's cute pose pin. This is a callback to their Cinderella tournament match, where Utami was mocking Tam's cute mannerisms. They have been building an odd feud between Utami Hayashishida and Tam Nakano recently, and I wouldn't even really call it a feud, it just feels like a meta joke for the fans. Miyu Iamasaki was tagged in not too much later, and would be beat up by Cosmic Angels a bunch. Unagi Sayaka was the first to beat up the rookie, then Mina Shirakawa targeted Miyu Amasaki's leg with strikes and submissions. Tam Nakano followed Mina's strategy and continued to target Miyu's leg. The match got more competitive once Miyu Amasaki was able to tag out, and the advantage switched multiple times from then on. It was Queen's Quest, though, who had the advantage at the end. After Saya Kamatani took care of Cosmic Angels with a crossbody off the top rope to the outside, Queen's Quest targeted Waka Sugiyama with an onslaught of attacks, and Miyu Amasaki finished the job with her jumping pedigree with the splits, which we now know was called the Go to Heaven, for the pinfall victory. The rookie got the victory in her hometown, and while nervous, got to close the show. I would recommend the main event, and the first match was really fun if you like comedy in your wrestling. The next Stardom show is the finals of the Cinderella tournament on the 29th, which will be on pay-per-view, and Stardom World a few days later. Along with the Cinderella tournament matches, there is going to be a World of Stardom Red Belt title match between Himeka and Shuri, and a high-speed title match between Azumi and Mei Suruga from Gato Move. This has been the Joshi Wrestling Recap for Stardom April 24th, 2022. Thanks for listening.